To those of you who complain about the failure of multiculturalism, I say stop. You sound like a miserable spouse who refuses to grab hold of the situation, take responsibility, and make it work. Right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming along. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the future of multiculturalism. And I have to say, the debate over multiculturalism drives me a little insane. As it stands, there are two camps. In the first camp, people say multiculturalism is a huge success, the melting pot experiment of throwing everyone together, different races, different religions, vastly different cultures, sometimes cultures with competing wants and needs. It works beautifully, because to make it work, all we need is the virtue of tolerance. As long as we all embrace tolerance, then multiculturalism succeeds. Anyone, therefore, who questions the success of multiculturalism is intolerant, racist, and of the far right. In the second camp, people say multiculturalism is an abject failure and could never be successful. Yes, they say in exasperation, perhaps multiracial communities can work, but multicultural communities cannot work precisely because these communities do not share the same cultural norms. Multiculturalism will fail no matter what. But I want to convince you that both camps are wrong. Multiculturalism can succeed, but the virtue of tolerance is nowhere near enough to make it work. Tolerance is necessary, but not sufficient. Multiculturalism requires hand-holding and delicate preemptive care. I think I know what is needed for a successful multicultural community. After all, it is what we do every day at our school, Michaela, and in a city school in Wembley. Michaela is well known for its incredibly high academic results. We've had the highest progress in the country for the last 2 years, and we're proud of that. But I've always said that I am most proud of what our young children become as young adults in terms of their characters. They reject the modern obsession with me, me, me. At Michaela, we have an environment where multiculturalism works well, and our children are friends with each other across racial and religious divides. And yes, the same principles that apply in one school can apply in all schools. And yes, if multiculturalism can work in one school, it can work across the country. After all, children matter, families matter, and schools matter. If only people would pay attention to the power of schools in shaping our country's culture, we might stand a chance at getting multiculturalism to succeed everywhere. First, what do we mean by multiculturalism? I'd say we mean different ways of doing things, perhaps eating different foods, worshipping different gods, wearing different clothes, speaking different languages, valuing different rituals, expecting different behaviors, following different ways of life, and so on. That's just to name a few. At our school, Michaela, we do not insist, as France does, that all religious or cultural differences are left outside the school. I think a lot of people think that this is what we do, that we ban all religious or cultural requests. People imagine we ban multiculturalism itself from flourishing at Michaela. But this just isn't true. We allow Muslim children to wear their hijabs and Sikh children to wear their bangles, or Rastafarian children to dread their hair. Our sixth formers bring in food from home to raise money for charity by selling their ethnic delicacies to the other children and staff. We even closed the school for Eid because we have so many Muslim children. Our thinking is entirely practical. If the cultural or religious request threatens the success and integrity of the whole school community, then we do not allow it. If, on the other hand, the religious or cultural request is one that will go unnoticed and will not undermine the success of our multicultural school community, then it gets a thumbs up. We close the school for the Muslim festival of Eid. However, we do not allow prayer rituals on our school site. our stance on prayer rituals inspires some to call us Islamophobic. But presumably, we wouldn't close the school on days that favor our Muslim pupils if that were the case. Also, it's an odd accusation when under my leadership, we have grown our Muslim cohort by 50%, and we are one of the biggest social mobility engines for Muslim children in our country. Indeed, there are some who say we favor our Muslim pupils because while we close for Eid, we stay open when festivals like Diwali take place. Can you see how difficult it can be getting multiculturalism to succeed? It requires kid gloves and a sense of decency and self-sacrifice from all of those who wish to participate in a successful multicultural community. The truth is that we run our school in a way that allows us to be practical and efficient. If a cultural or religious demand would upset the balance of the whole school or undermine our ethos, we say no. If it makes no difference to the happiness of the school community, then we say yes. At Michaela, we reject the idea that one should embrace all differences. In fact, we reject the idea that diversity is our strength. We strongly believe that diversity is not a strength. Instead, we understand that it is a wonderful thing that requires careful management. As an example, at Michaela, we only serve vegetarian food. Why? Because we have a family lunch where the children sit together at assigned seats, which prevents bullying, where they all eat the same food just as a family does at dinner time. That's why we call it family lunch. The children serve each other food, pour each other water, clean up after each other, and have conversation while they eat. The tables are mixed in terms of ability, religion, race, and gender. If we were to give each community their desired food, we would have tables with meat but no pork, other tables with meat but no beef, some tables with halal food, others with kosher food, and again, others with food that has not been treated in a special way at all. If you give everyone what they want, you divide the children according to race and religion. So I repeat, diversity is not our strength. Cultural differences must be managed carefully. In this instance, asking everyone to make a sacrifice around what they eat, meaning everyone eats a vegetarian lunch, allows children to break bread with each other and be friends across racial and religious divides. Think about multiculturalism just as you would do about a marriage or a family. Husband and wife or brother and sister might have competing needs and wants. The husband likes to watch movies with shootouts and gangsters, while the wife would rather watch a romantic comedy. So they have to find a compromise. The more different the husband and wife are, the harder it is to make the marriage work. Often, you will hear couples say how they have much in common. Having lots in common is considered a strength. You never hear a happy couple talk about how they have very little to say to each other because they are so different and are interested in completely different things. That doesn't mean that very different people cannot have happy marriages, of course, but they will have to work harder at it. Diversity is no more their strength than it is the strength of any society. The couple, however different they are from each other, finds a way to make it work. Each person prioritizes the success of the marriage above his own or her own personal and individual desires. Duty trumps selfishness. They sacrifice some of what is important to them so that they can find common ground. It's the same with multiculturalism, except that it is harder and it involves a lot more people. And just as any priest or therapist advises a couple before embarking on the journey that is marriage, they'll say it's hard work, but you have to stick with it. So the same goes for a multicultural school or community or country. To those of you who complain about the failure of multiculturalism, I say stop. You sound like a miserable spouse who refuses to grab hold of the situation, take responsibility, and make it work. After all, We are where we are. I'm not denying the issues around immigration and illegal immigration, where people are rightly critical. Neither am I diving into the discussion of whether it is fair to ask the so-called Indigenous people of any country to make room for others who are different or recently arrived, or whether it is right for these Indigenous people to complain when they should perhaps accept that this is what happens when your forebears decide to colonize half the world. Let's forget that debate for a minute and instead look at what is of utmost importance. We need to figure out how to make multiculturalism work. There is little point in lying to ourselves and insisting that diversity is our strength when the idea that diversity could ever be a strength is simply preposterous. So what exactly is required to ensure multiculturalism works?
To continue watching this video, click the link in the top left or in the description below, or visit iai.tv for more debates and talks from the world's leading thinkers on today's biggest ideas.